Hey everybody, I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country on MKOCRadio.com. The lady that's with me tonight has a brand new album called New Road Home, and great music on this album. She's a performing songwriter and a teacher, 38-year career in the business, and she's got great endorsements from Martin Guitars and Sennheiser microphones. Just a fabulous artist. It's a pleasure to have her on the show. Deborah Berg. Deborah, how are you tonight?
Hi, Scott. Doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Such a pleasure to have you on the show. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. It's great to be here.
Well, before we get in and talk about your new music, give me a little bit of your background and tell me how you got into this wonderful world of the music business.
I guess I got into the wonderful world of music sort of backwards. I was a dance major, and I loved dance. I was fixated on dance until my knees went out.
Oh.
And I was in a dance company, and a musician and his wife were in the audience watching our dance company, and instead of dancing, I was doing improvisational music, singing and sort of yodeling and doing all sorts of, unusual sounds along with snippets of song. And afterwards, he told me that he was looking for a music partner for a new project that he was about to start on, and would I be interested in, just working with him and seeing what we came up with. And he lived in England with his wife, so, it was sort of a wonderful opportunity, and I thought, sure, I'd love to do that. Thank you so much. So got on an airplane, went to London. We wrote some songs together. I wrote the lyrics and sang, and he composed the music. And then he shopped the tape, and we got a record deal.
Wow.
In London. It was like such a strange, amazing, 15 minutes of fame type thing.
Yeah.
And then from that experience, the record company that signed us in London was affiliated with Warner Brothers Records in the States, so everything they signed would be sent to Los Angeles, to Burbank. Mm-hmm. And one of their in-house producers got our tape and went, "They're great. Let's get them over here." So Julian and I then moved from England to Los Angeles and recorded 2 records with Warner Brothers with like this jazzy pop group of ours called Eye to Eye.
Wow.
So that's how I got into the music industry. I bet you didn't expect me to tell you that story.
No, that's pretty amazing. Wow, that's something you don't hear very often.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then, as things often happen, it didn't quite pan out the way we thought it was going to. And in about 5 years' time, the band had to, we lost our record deal. Long story short, we lost our record deal. And Julian and Arabella moved back to London, and I stayed on the East Coast and thought, well, I'm a musician now. I don't want to go back into the world of dance, so I may as well learn how to play the guitar. So that's when it started kicking in for me to write my own material with my, with the chops that I began to learn with guitar playing. And that's how New Road Home was made, with my, my acoustic sense. But I will always appreciate and acknowledge all that I learned as a front jazzy pop song singer with my band with Julian, that's called Eye to Eye.
Wow. Now, you also do some teaching too, right?
Yes, I do some teaching. I have taught songwriting, which is a blast, and I love that. I love getting into people's minds. Everybody's got a story. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, people put to music.
There's always something interesting about somebody's story, and the I guess the challenge is to bring it out in a way that represents you as the artist, but also that allows for kind of an interesting spin, so that it's not totally predictable. Your song about your favorite car, or your grandma, or something that, it's a great story, but what makes it rise up? What can you do to make it, to bring it into some other kind of interest besides, what a nice song about your grandma,
Yeah. I'm always curious when I talk to songwriters. What is your process for writing a song? Do you say I'm going to sit down and write a song, or does an inspiration strike you? And how do things really come to you?
Oh, it's never I want to sit down and write a song. Hardly ever, unless I'm being torn, like being pulled and, pushed and, forced. Like, okay, come here. You're in this songwriting group. Boom. Sit down and write a song. Write and sing it to us in 20 minutes, But I generally do not handle stress like that very well. So I generally would have to say it's usually a rhythmic pattern that gets into my head. And I think that harkens back to my dance days, because dance is very rhythmic. That's all choreography is like rhythm and counting. I mean, besides the body awareness and the core strength and all that, dance and choreography is all about rhythmic patterns and counting. And that's what I find myself doing. Like if I'm walking to a yoga class, or if I'm walking to the post office, I might get some rhythmic pattern going on in my head, in my mind. Maybe it's raining, or maybe a horn honks. And it all starts to become this kind of swirl that if I'm clever enough and remember it, I can work with it later when I get back home.
Mm-hmm. I think that's kind
Same
of
with snippets of, sorry to interrupt you, but
all right.
Snippets of conversations. Like if you just walk grocery store shopping and somebody's talking to their kid,
Yeah.
and they just say something that makes you feel like that could be a line in a song. Let me write that down in the back of my, day planner. Because what I find is that people respond to simple phrases that aren't too complicated.
Sure. Hook lines. Yep.
Yeah, hook lines, simple phrases that, just, and try not to get the cliche in there too much. If you're throwing out a cliche, stand it on its head, or take it around the corner, or take one of its shoes off. You know what I mean? So, like for instance, there's a line in a song on New Road Home it's on Sliver of a Moon, and the line has something to do with wild horses. So the phrase that we all know is, wild horses couldn't pull me away from that, or couldn't drag me away. And what I think I ended up with was, wild horses couldn't adjust. And then it goes on to say, love in the dust. It just, yeah, we were the wild horses, the characters, in the song.
Yeah.
But the wild horses, they just couldn't get it together. They were just, it was wild, it was crazy, it was fabulous, and then it just, didn't last.
That's awesome. Well, the album is New Road Home, folks. You can get it at deborahberg.com, and also iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, and all those great places that we get our music these days. And highly encourage you to check out Deborah's website, some great things there. And tell me a little bit about Youre Gone. I think that's such a fantastic song.
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. Well, let's see. What would you like to know about it? It's
Tell me the story. Tell me how you came up with it.
Okay. Let's see. Well, some of the lyrics I had for a really long time. It was in my to-do file, unfinished song, which I have sitting on my shelf, and I think every songwriter does. And I could never quite get it done. There were some good lines in it, and I just couldn't quite get it done. But the thing I always liked through the years was "Too Far from Me, Too Far to See." And I had "You're smiling," "You're crying," and then I finally ended up with "You're Gone." And the reason I ended up with "You're Gone" was because I go to a music camp every summer in the Pacific Northwest. It's called Puget Sound Guitar Workshop.
Oh, have you heard of that? Yeah.
It's fun. It's an adult music camp. It's acoustic, but every now and then somebody, if you're there's a dance, so electric guitar is allowed at the dance, but other than that, everything's acoustic. Bass, all sorts of guitars, mandolins, banjos, but we stay in cabins. I have a core group of girlfriends who I meet there when I go, so we're always hoping that we can have a cabin to share. And one night, down the holler in this beautiful camp in the Pacific Northwest, I heard a group of bluegrass players just wailing on all sorts of instruments, but mostly, bluegrass instruments, like mandolin, I don't know if there was a banjo, but a bunch of guitars, stand-up bass, and they were just going for it. It was like boom, 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 and it just inspired me so much. I was walking home in the moonlight. It was dark. It was perfect. It was like I felt like Loretta Lynn, in Coal Miner's Daughter, or Dolly Parton walking through those Tennessee hills, and it just hit me. It's like, you're gone. Too far from me, too far to see. You're gone. And so that rhythmic pattern, again, that the Bluegrass Jam was throwing out, and my old lyrics that helped me move my ideas forward formed the song You're Gone. And the song You're Gone is about just that. It's about a lost love, and one that had a lot of promise in the attraction, in the physical attraction department, but it didn't quite last. It didn't quite make it, didn't quite get over the finish line. But the person singing it is remembering a night that they had a experience. And it kind of ties in with the woods and the story of how the song was created in my imagination and in my past folder full of lyrics. And so it's cool how songwriters can create from the past, they can create from reality, they can create from something that they totally made up.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
And then turn it into something that is real and pertinent and that reaches people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. It's like writing a novel, only it's a 3.5-minute song.
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier about having a rhythmic pattern, and I think that's kind of what sets a songwriter apart from just a writer. You think in those terms as opposed to composing a novel or composing just a poem or something. I think that kind of there's a difference there, and I think that's where it lies. No one's ever told me that before, and I really had that epiphany when you mentioned that. I thought that's really what a songwriter is.
Mhm. I guess that's right.
Yeah.
You think about the old patterns of poetry, like sonnets, Sonnets, I'm no expert, but there's a way in which a sonnet is written. You develop the story, and then at the very end, I think what makes it a sonnet is that there's sort of a culmination, of the theme. So, like it's a Shakespearean all's well that ends well sort of descriptive two lines that tie everything together. Mm-hmm. So that's a kind of a rhythmic thing with poetry, and also, what is it? Haikus.
Yeah.
Like a haiku has da 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 da. I'm butchering that, but there's a rhythmic pattern to a haiku, and it has to stay rigid within that in order to be a haiku. Whereas with music, that's the wonderful liberation of writing a song that somehow magically kind of slips together when you're done with it, and it's done. There has to be something that feels like you're moving, like it's moving. At least that's how I feel.
Wow.
That's what I meant by when people write songs about their grandma. There's got to be some kind of energy, some kind of oxygen in the story, either in the pattern of the music, of the the chords you play, or if it's a very simple chord phrase, then your words have to bounce a little bit to make the song kind of get up in your face.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're really going off on a tangent.
Oh, that's
here,
all right.
Scott.
It's very interesting. You have to be an amazing teacher. I love the way you describe things. It's just fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Folks, I'm talking to Deborah Berg today. DeborahBerg.com is the website. Her new album is called New Road Home, and we're going to be playing some of those songs here for you shortly. And Deborah, tell me about some of the wonderful players that you have on this album.
Oh, thank you for asking. Yeah, they are wonderful players. Well, first of all, my producer is Ken Rich. He's a good friend of mine, and he has a studio in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York. He's a wonderful friend and fella, and he's got great ears and a really excellent, just spot-on studio that's nothing fancy, but just really well cared for. And every time I walk in there, I'm happy. It's just a great place to create, which there was such a good feeling when I asked my guys in this just last summer. We did the record quite quickly because they're so great. So Chris Tedesco is the fiddle player, and he has a real part in Youre Gone, as I'm sure you've noticed. His phrase is just like da 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 dom boom. He just plays that riff, and it just gets you right into the. I just always kind of imagine it being sort of like some kind of motion that moves the song. And he's classically trained. He's such a nice guy. He's got 2 sons and a wife who's a stunt woman.
Oh, wow.
And love Chris. Charlie Giordano is the accordion player and keyboard player and piano player. And he is a very accomplished musician here in New York. He's been playing with the E Street Band with Bruce Springsteen for a number of years.
Wow.
He's taking a break right now, which is everybody is delighted with here in New York, who's like, Charlie's back, and he's just a wonderful person, very soft-spoken fella, but just so thoughtful and kind and immensely talented. And then Richard Hammond is our bass player, and he too is a stellar fella, is what I call him. Plays bass, plays on Broadway, plays in Hamilton. He's the bass player in Hamilton on Broadway. But, all these guys, I've known them for a long time. I'm like, I'm not a spring chicken, Scott. So, we played in each other's bands when nothing was happening. We were just playing because we were musicians and we wanted to play. So they've all done incredibly well for themselves, and they are very generous and kind and hilarious, and we have a really good time. And the record came together so quickly and easily. One of the songs, Sliver of a Moon, was done in one take, and it was like, okay, let's run it and see if we remember how it goes. And for me, that's just astonishing.
Yeah.
I guess it's because being a vocalist, I like getting things right. If I'm in the studio, I'll be like, I like everything but that last that phrase, that last thing at the end of the bridge. But that song we just went through once, it's a little bit strangely, it's kind of a little dissonant. And Ken said, well, it's a guitar. It was me playing the guitar. And so what we did was we wanted to keep everything because it felt good, So instead of trying it again, I just sort of played my part again. So there's 2 guitar parts on Sliver of a Moon.
Ah.
And you can hear it. It's just sort of like it rubs up against itself, but the whole idea of the song is so mysterious and moody that everybody just said, it sounds great, don't mess with it. Leave it. And I love it when that happens.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I love spontaneous things that work out.
I love spontaneous things that work out. And then for Gamble Everything for Love, I had 2 backing vocalists, Cheryl Marshall and Stephanie Seymour. And they are just, they're professional. They have great ears, and they can sing anything you ask them to sing. And they have a wonderful background. Both of them are songwriters too, but they have an ear for harmony. So you got to nab those people.
Yeah.
Because not everybody hears the harmony.
Yep.
And not everybody wants you to tell them the harmony you want them to do, Sometimes people just want to find the harmony. What I've discovered with working with other backing vocalists is that, you sing something and they just want to hear you sing it. And then they'll find the harmony that they think should go there. Mm-hmm. So that's great. That works great for that kind of song. But if you're me and I have an idea of where I'd like to hear a harmony, I need somebody who will listen to what I hear and learn it and sing it for me,
Yeah, yeah.
I know it sounds kind of bitchy or something, but
well, it's your record. That's sort of bottom line.
It's like sometimes I don't care, It's like just sing something in there. It's going to be great, But other times I've heard it, I hear it, and I want to hear it. I want to hear what it's like, and so that's why working with Cheryl and Stephanie has been just such a blessing because they get it, They'll listen, they'll learn, they'll sing it. How was that? Did you like it? I was like, I think I really like that, So it's fun. And now we've kind of got a pattern where all these people actually, where we help each other out, because I sing backup too.
That's great.
And I sing backup on both Cheryl's work and Stephanie's work. And quite a few other people. I enjoy singing backup very much.
That's wonderful. I think when you have people that you really enjoy working with, it shows through in the finished product, and I think that's what you hear on this album. It really has this. It really came together, and there's this special edge that it has, and that's probably due to the fact that you had such a wonderful time and great people that you worked with putting it together.
Thank you so much. I'm very proud of it, and I'm hoping that you enjoy it and that your listeners enjoy it. And I would love to hear from you again and from your listeners again. It's an exciting time for a songwriter. You know, to release a new record is just such a confirmation, you know.
Absolutely.
I highly recommend it. If you're thinking about it at all, just get yourself in a recording studio and get your songs recorded.
Yeah.
It's just such a valuable thing to do. And don't worry about the consequences or the outcome. You know, you got to let that one go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I am looking forward to sharing some of your songs with my listeners, and I hope that folks will pick up this great album. DeborahBerg.com is the place to go, and the album is called New Road Home. Of course, you can get it at iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, and all those great places. And we'll play, I really like Youre Gone. We'll play that one and Sliver of a Moon, and of course, we'll be playing some other songs too throughout. So, Deborah, thank you so much for taking the time to be on My Kind of Country. It sure has been a pleasure talking with you, and I hope we can do it again soon.
Thank you so much, Scott. All the best to you.
All right, DeborahBerg.com, folks. Listen to this great music from the album New Road Home.
I tried to reach you today once more for old time's sake. So hard to say goodbye and watch you go. I know you said walk away.